Alright mate, I'm Elle, and while I'm out here I thought I'd show you exactly how I pack all of my solo wild camping gear into my Osprey Stratos 36 litre rucksack. It's been raining on and off quite a lot, so I'm going to have to do this quickly. Let's get to it. First, let me show you what features this bag actually has. I really love it. This is my preferred hiking rucksack. Sometimes it's too small for what I need, but for a one-nighter on my own it's absolutely perfect. Okay, it's a top-loading bag, so it's straight in on the top. You can open, and there's a drawer cord, so you can fit everything in there. At the bottom you've got a stuff sack that you can zip open and access. That's where my sleeping bag goes, and I'll show you that in a minute. You can see it's got a gap in the back and the mesh so that the air can pass through and give you a slightly less sweaty back. That's awesome. It's also got attachments for hiking poles. You'll see on the front as well there is actually a zip pocket, and that's just a thin pocket right on the front of the bag. In your top flap you've got a little bit more storage, so you've got one quite spacious one on the back there, and then on the inside you've got a netted pocket. I normally just use this for snacks, but I have already eaten all my snacks, so it's going to be empty. You've got your hip pockets there, which are really convenient. I love those. And also you've got side pockets on the bag for bottles or anything else that you might want to stick in there. Finally, on the bottom of the bag you actually have a little zip just here, and inside is a rain cover, so your bag's not going to get soaked. So I actually don't use a liner inside the whole bag. I do for very specific items that I don't want to get wet, but then the whole bag I just cover with the rain cover. That's my solution. So just a very quick tour of all the kit. For solo camping I use the Zephyrus 1 tent. That's Wild Country by Terra Nova, and it's perfect just for me, but definitely not enough for two people. Then I've got the Rab Ascent 700 down sleeping bag, and underneath I've got the Sea to Summit insulated. Annoyingly I can't remember the name, but that is a wonderful roll mat. Then we've got waterproofs, gloves, buff, spare socks and a bit of spare clothes that I keep in a dry bag just underneath. First aid kit, kit, cook set just there. I've got some beer, some food obviously. I've got a really cheap microfiber towel that I use just for you know, mopping up spills, drying off my face, drying off my hands, things like that. Obviously I've got sun cream, I've got a headlamp and a hand light, my water purifier there, map and compass, and then I've got my water bladder, which I prefer to use over a bottle just for convenience. Okay, so the first thing I always pack is my sleeping bag, which goes in the bottom compartment here. I don't use a liner or the stuff sack, I actually just use a bin bag. So I line it first, as mainly because my sleeping bag is the one thing. If everything else is wet it's fine, but as long as you know, you can go to sleep dry and warm at the end of the day. And then you literally just need to stuff the sleeping bag in, so I'm probably going to fast forward through this point because it normally takes a minute. Just like so. The next thing I tend to pack is my roll mat, so I'll get the air out of that really quickly. Look, there are two ways that you can pack a roll mat, and it kind of depends how much space you have in your pack. So I'm going to pack it the most space efficient way. The normal way is just to roll it, put it in a stuff sack and put it in your bag, right? But what I prefer to do, once you've got all the air out, and it's super muddy because it's been raining since I got here, once you've got all the air out you can fold it in such a way that it lies across the front of your bag and takes up sort of less space, or at least it's a more efficient way to use the space. Incredibly muddy hands because it's been raining. I'm gonna have to clean everything when I get home, but that's what this cheap microfiber cloth is for. I can just clean everything off, not worry that I'm ruining one of my good towels. Right, once you've got your roll mat folded up like that, you can just lay it in the bag, sort of around the bottom of the bag so it sort of curves underneath. And then what it does is it lines the front of your bag, so rather than having cylindrical objects with lots of sort of air gaps around them, it just properly molds to the edge of your bag, and that's how you're going to get really efficient space. Okay, next to go in is always my water, just because that takes up lots of room and it's really hard to squeeze in at the end. I normally carry quite a lot with me because I drink like a fish, and in the back most rucksacks have a specific slot for your water bladder, so that can just go in there. And then most rucksacks as well have some kind of hole for the tubes to come out. So mine's at the back, and I can just tuck it through there, and then there you go. So next for me is always to pack away the tent. That's the biggest item, so it's easier to build other things around it. Again, this takes a minute to take down, so I'm probably just gonna speed through the whole process. I just noticed how bent my pole is. Can you guys see it? That's mental. Yeah, I can't even turn it. There you go. Bish bash bosh. Okay, so then my tent is just going to go right in the middle of the bag. Nice. Now it looks like it's going to be too tall, but that's not the case at all. You can still close it entirely and you've just got the poles right there. It's a good idea to keep your heaviest items closer to the bottom of your bag and closer into your back, and then you're going to keep your centre of gravity nice and low. Hopefully reduce a little bit of backache. So I'll tuck my cook set right down in the bottom, where there's a few little corners that you want to fill. Next thing to go in is first aid kit. I don't always bring it, but there's always some useful stuff in here. I'll do a proper like what's in my first aid kit at some point. There's always, you know, tampons, baby powder, bite and sting, tick tweezers, bandages, that kind of thing. Things that I actually find useful and use fairly often. That can go down the side of the bag as well. Next thing I have is my kit. So it's just a trowel in a little leather case that my boyfriend made, and some obviously now very raggedy old toilet tissue after all this rain. Nice, so that we can preserve the areas that we're camping in and try and leave no trace. It's very important. That's a good side note actually, is to carry a spare plastic bag with you just in case. Okay, next thing again, I've got gloves, socks, a buff. There's normally like spare t-shirt, that sort of thing in here with this. I always put these items into a dry bag just because they're one of the last things that you'd want to get wet, so I just shove them in there all together. Try and get some of the air out, and then you can pack that down the side of your bag as well. Next is my MSR water filter. This one's awesome. It's a little hand pump, very lightweight. I prefer this to the straws personally. It's a little bit sort of labour intensive, but it's always worked for me and doesn't give the water a horrible taste like tablets do, so that goes in there as well. For food, I've just packed a quick dehydrated meal. It's nothing special. If I was with friends, maybe I'd do a campfire or something and try and cook something delicious. But if you're trying to be sort of space and weight efficient, then dehydrated food is definitely the way to go. Okay, I'm going to have to stop using my filthy microfiber towel. That goes in the edge as well. I know this looks like it's sticking way out of the top, but once you seal it all up, it just kind of holds in there. The last thing that I want right at the top of my bag, so it's easily accessible, is my waterproof. I'm going to show you my preferred way of folding it, just because you can make the best pillow out of a down jacket doing exactly this. So what you're going to do is get both sleeves and fold them straight into the middle like that. Fold the jacket into thirds, like that, and then roll it up from the bottom, and then you can tuck it inside the hood. And now you've got a really small little snail shell of a jacket, and yeah, if you're sleeping, even your waterproof jacket, this is much better than no pillow at all. So now my packed waterproof is just going to go right at the top of my bag. On which side has more space? I think if I move my, sometimes you have to rejig a bit, so I think if I move my first aid kit over to this side, then I'm going to be able to get my waterproof jacket in on the other side. So that's the main compartment of the bag, and then I just seal it up with the string. Make sure that's sucked in there. And look at that, nicely sealed. Like I said, snacks would normally go in this pouch, but I don't have any with me right now, so I'm just going to seal that up. And then in this top pocket that zips open on the flap, I normally keep my sun cream, which I take even when it's raining, even on Christmas, and my lights, because you never know when you're going to need those in a hurry. And last but not least, I have the most important thing, beers. I just stick these in the side pocket where bottles are meant to go, because I don't use a bottle, so that frees me up space that is absolutely needed if you're going to be wild camping alone. I don't know how you do it without a beer. So there we go, packed and ready to go like a wild camp, with everything I need inside of a 36 litre rucksack, with nothing at all on the outside. That is absolutely classic. I just spent this entire video battling with the rain, packing, unpacking, hiding my sleeping bag, and now the sun's out just as I'm leaving.